first ever episode of Cooking with Jason. Today we're going to make a peach cobbler using an old family recipe that's going to be slightly modified by me. It's really simple. All you need is your 2 cans of peaches provided by Walmart. You're going to need baking powder, salt, sugar, regular flour, and 1 cup of milk. And it's also really simple to make. You're only going to need this bowl for mixing the crust, this bowl for heating up the stuffing, and then we cook it in a cobbler pan like this. So the first thing I'm going to do is going to open up both cans of peaches and put them in the saucepan on the stove. Here. And I'm going to take a knife and just hit these up some just to chop them up a little bit. They'll get softer once you get cooking them. And I probably should have cut these in a different bowl, but oh well, I'm not scraping the bottom. Okay. Then to that, you're going to add just 1/3 of a cup of sugar. And so it looks like that right now. And you're going to heat that up, not really high, but enough where it'll start melting the sugar and getting thick. And that's pretty much that. That's pretty much that for right now. Okay, the next thing, which is the biggest important part of this, because the inside is nothing but just peaches and sugar water. So you're going to take 2 cups of the regular flour. If you use self-rising flour, you don't need the baking powder and the salt, but otherwise you do. So there's 1 cup. And I'm not using a topper to cut it off, I just measure it. That's 2 cups of flour, and then you're going to use 2 cups of sugar, okay, that's all we're going to need those for. Then you want to put in 3 teaspoons of your baking powder. If you don't put this in, it won't rise at all. And the last thing will be just a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. It makes you wonder why they would use even salt at all if it's just a tiny bit, but that's all you need. And then it also calls for the milk, but I always would mix up the dry ingredients first because that flour is going to clump up if you don't mix it in. And it doesn't take long, and it'll get very smooth. Just keep mixing it until you know that all the sugar's into the flour. I think that's about done. You'll be able to feel it. It goes right through it like light sand. Then let's check our peaches to see if they're heating up. It's right here. It's thickening a little bit, but it still needs a good bit more time on the heat. And now we'll take our milk. That's a full cup of milk. And we'll just stir this up until there's no lumps. You could use a food blend, a mixer, but that's not really necessary with this small amount. Okay, and we'll be back in just a second whenever the peaches are ready to be put in. Okay, we're back, and as you can see, I have melted a whole stick of butter in the bottom of the cobbler dish, I guess is what you'd call it. And we're going to go here and check on our peaches. They are now boiling, which means you can pretty much not worry about it no more. And just turn off the heat. And let them cool off. And now you're going to take your dough mixture, which is it's going to be kind of thick, but it shouldn't be hard to stir. And everyone here is the famous accountant Owen Parker.
Hello, guys.
Pour your dough on top of the butter.
I'm what they call a dork, because I do taxes for pork.
And Mark's over there gagging.
Mark, are you gagging on my comments? You don't like it? No, I'm used to it.
Okay, as you can see, I've got it almost all out. It's very thick here at the bottom. And you don't have to use all of it because I made a double mixture of the dough. But it'll look something like that. Now, we're going to bring our peach mixture, and even though you think this makes no sense to put the stuffing on top of the crust, you're actually going to put it on top. And the dough will actually cook up around it. Just make sure your peaches are pretty spread out. And that's pretty much it. So, we have our oven preheating to 350 degrees. And let me check the temperature. It's not quite there yet, but what we're going to do is you're going to put the cobbler dish in your oven at 350. And you're going to put your timer on 45 minutes. Now that doesn't mean you walk away and let it sit there because everybody's oven cooks differently. In fact, ours probably won't take until 45, but I'm putting it at 45 and start watching it about 35. Because once the top is getting kind of dark brown, you can stick a toothpick, but you probably don't need to. It'll probably be done. So we're just going to sit around and do something, and we'll come back whenever it's ready to come out. See you then. Okay, here we are about 15 minutes into the cooking process. It's probably too bright, but the dough is already starting to rise. The peaches are covered up, and it just needs to get darkened and more solid, and we'll be ready to go. So we'll be back in a few minutes.
Go.
Okay, we are at the 45-minute mark, and it's funny, I just said we're at the 45-minute mark, and Mark is the one holding the camera. But as you can see, it's golden brown, and I've already stuck a toothpick in it just to make sure. You could eat it right away, but we're just going to let it sit here for a couple of minutes. And we'll be back in just a couple of minutes when it's cooled off some. See you then. Okay, we're back here with the finished product, and Owen and Mark are going to try it. first by itself, and then we're going to have some cinnamon bun ice cream because we don't have any vanilla ice cream in it. So let's see how it came out. Yeah, there's a lot of dough. Okay, go ahead and taste it. Hopefully the syrup and stuff went enough in the dough to make it sweet.
Super hot. It's hot.
Yeah, but how does it taste? I know it's hot.
It's good. Doughy.
Is the
Not
bread
bread.
too thick? I meant to only time and a half the dough, but I accidentally doubled it. So if you want to make it better, just cut the dough ingredients in half and then times and a half that. That's confusing, but anyway. And another thing too is you want to use a dish that's deeper than 3 inches because mine overflowed a little bit. Usually the dish I've always used was about 4 inches deep, and I didn't realize we had a different depth. But you want something that's a little bit more deeper than that right there, because you can see the sugar overflowed. Now they're gonna put the ice cream on it and see if that makes any difference. Cinnamon bun fun ice cream. Okay, well, that was a very simple recipe. As you can see, the whole preparation time was less than 10 minutes, and then you got to cook it for 45 or so. But that's it. We'll be back next time with more Cooking with Jason. See you then.
Stop taking this is my sign.